What up, watch peeps? Got a mod video for today. I've been sitting on this footage for a little while and I kind of just wanted to get it out there. This is a bronze turtle build that I was commissioned to do. What we start with is a Heimdallr turtle homage from which we harvest the bronze case. And then we're going to put into it a brand new Seiko NH35 movement and the dial and handset from a SRP 775. That's the gilt dial turtle. So that should all come together in a really cool package. I've done one of these before and it is pretty awesome. All right, before we get started, quick wrist check. I am wearing the Vostok Amphibian today. I have absolutely fallen in love with this watch. All right, if you're enjoying the channel, subscribing is a huge help. I would greatly appreciate it. It's the #1 thing you can do to help out the channel right now. All right, let's get to it. I'm Pete and we are chilling with watches. All right, guys, so here is the bronze Heimdallr that we are starting with. I don't know if Heimdallr and Sharky are the same company, but this has that similar Sharky dial with a shark on it. Kind of a Marine Master 300 dial and handset. First thing we're going to do is crack it open. This one was tight. I had to get out the case back wrench to get the case back off of this guy. But yeah, once I cracked the seal with that, get it the rest of the way off with the friction ball and a nice wad of masking tape. Professional watchmaker tool, wad of masking tape. Alright, so the next step is to remove the old movement with the dial and handset. So first step, take out the crown. And you just flip it over, set the case aside. Now we're not going to be using this movement dial or handset. I return this to the buyer. So set that aside. And now he sent me a Seiko, an SRP 775 chapter ring, which is black with the gilt minute track, to put in here. So here I'm going to go, well, first I'm taking out the case back gasket, set that aside, don't want to lose it. But that is why I'm taking the crystal out here. Normally I would not have to take out the crystal for any other reason, but I was going to put that new chapter ring in. But as it turned out, this Heimdallr turtle case does not use a standard Seiko turtle chapter ring, and the one from the SRP 775 would not fit. So I end up all this work I'm doing here to take out the crystal and then remove the chapter ring is all for naught. I end up just having to put it all back together. But first thing you want to do, you might find yourself in this position. So first thing is to remove the crystal gasket. You want to be careful not to damage that when removing it. Set that aside. Next is the chapter ring. As it turns out, this chapter ring was glued in. So not only was this step unnecessary, but it was also difficult. So once that's out, I had to kind of remove any glue residue from the step or the shelf where that chapter ring rests. Now here's the new NH35 movement. They all come factory usually set up for a 3 o'clock crown. So I had to replace the day wheel with one that is designed to line up with the day window on a 4 o'clock crown dial. There's the old day wheel. It's just a C-clip that holds that on. Pull the clip, put in the new day wheel, put the C-clip back. There's the SRP 775 dial. Easy peasy, just put the dial feet in the holes, press it down, clean it up. So he must have bought a brand new set of OEM SRP 775 hands, because they came packaged in their foil packs, not harvested off an old watch. So first thing you want to do is turn the hour hand until just the date flips. Then leave it hacked and you know you're at midnight, and that's where you set the hands. First, the hour hand. I like Rodico stuck on the end of a pegwood to hold the hand. It's just how I do it. It's how I've always done it. You want to use a hands presser that just covers the minute post, but not big enough to go over the hour pinion. That way, it will press the hour hand down till it is flush and even with the top of the pinion. Next, you want to use the minute hand. So you want to use a different hands presser this time. One that just covers the seconds post, but will not fit over top of the minute post. That way it will press, when pressed down fully, it will seat the minute hand flush with the top of the minute post. All this will help you get perfect clearance, keep the hands from colliding, and make each successive hand easier to put on. I usually clean it up a little bit before moving on to the seconds hand. You want to check those clearances, make sure that both hands are flat and level. Plenty of room for the second hand to go on top. Make any adjustments as necessary. Alright, then we're going to pop the second hand on. For the second hand, I use a pegwood that is kind of coned at the end, but with a flat top. Almost like a hands presser that has no hole in it. I just made this tool at the beginning and I've always used it. It's worked well for me. Alright, once that's pressed on and all the hands are even and the clearances are good, there we go, just like would have came out of an SRP 775. And you can see the hands, really nice alignment, they went on well. So now we are going to seat the case over top of the movement dial handset. Now I'm putting this case on without the crystal chapter ring or crystal gasket, without any of that stuff in there yet. And the reason for this is you want to get the dial set to where it is going to be in its final position. We're going to insert the crown to make sure it's lined up as it will be at the end. Now we're going to put the chapter ring in next so that we can line the chapter ring up with the dial. So crown and net, now we're going to line up the chapter ring here. So the 12 o'clock and 12 o'clock have perfect alignment. Looks pretty good. Now in this case, normally the third thing you want to line up would be the bezel insert, but since I am not taking the bezel assembly apart here, didn't have to do that part. Luckily everything all lined up already. Now I'm not going to glue this chapter ring back in. Instead I'm going to use double-sided adhesive, the same as I used to set a dial or a bezel insert. I use nail clippers to clip off a small piece because it will give a nice arc to that piece of adhesive. So it sits on things like a chapter ring or a bezel real nice. Take off the backing. We're going to slide that in there lined up with the 12 o'clock marker. Once that's in and secure, you can take the movement back out, put in the crystal gasket. And like I said, what's funny is I didn't have to do any of this. Lastly, the crystal. Yeah, when the SRP 775 chapter ring didn't work, I just had to put the original Heimdallr one back in. So, like I said, all for naught, but that's modding, right? So you want to keep taking it out, putting it in a little at a time, turning the case and crystal in the crystal press as you're doing it, making sure it's going in straight the whole time. Once you're fully seated, I usually give it one more hand crank with my old-fashioned lever press, just to make sure it's really in there all the way. Once you're satisfied with that, it's a matter of cleaning off all the dust. So I take quite a time. I kind of skipped over some of that there, but removing dust from underneath the crystal and then removing dust from the dial. And then usually once you put the case over the dial, then you see a few more pieces of dust that you didn't notice before. So got to go back and get all that. Sometimes it's on the outside of the crystal, it's hard to tell. But take your time here, get all the dust, because if you miss it, it'll drive you nuts. Once that's done, reinsert the crown. I'm just checking to make sure that everything looks like it lines up. And that is pretty much it at this point. You can see, looks really cool. Bronze turtle is something that Seiko should think about. So now we just gotta put the case back gasket back in. I always lubricate these before reinstalling them. And we're gonna put the case back on after cleaning it. Tighten it down. And voila! That is a pretty cool build. I actually made one of these for myself not too long ago. Off to a happy customer. So that's it. I was really happy with the way that build turned out, even though I did a lot of unnecessary work. But that's modding. Oftentimes things will come up that do not work out the way you thought they would. My only advice, just keep going. I know I sped through a lot of that, so if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I love talking watches. Alright, before I let you go, sneaker check. Wearing some 350s today. Alright, I'm out. If it's not too much trouble, like, subscribe, and come back next time. Peace!